Now we've talked about functions, which are just a way of describing a relationship between an input and an output that have kind of a special kind of relationship that make it a function. We've also talked about a specific type of function, a linear function. Now the thing to keep in mind is that when we're talking about any type of function, we're talking about a relationship between an input and an output. So let's go ahead and talk about when maybe we have two different relationships and want to see how they're related. So in the example you see here, I've gone ahead and used Desmos, an online graphing utility, to graph the function, the linear function, y equals 2x plus 3. Now, if I click on the line here, I can drag it up here, and these are all inputs and outputs that satisfy that relationship, y equals 2x plus 3. So if I were to take any point, including this one, negative 0.78, 1.44, and I plugged it in to y equals 2x plus 3, I would get an equality. Now, if I picked another point, something out maybe in this region, since it's not on the line, that point is not going to satisfy this equation. Well, that's great. So now I have lots of points that satisfy this linear relationship, y equals 2x plus 3. Well, we can also have what's called a system of equations, and that just means that we have more than one relationship being described. And so first I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that line. Let's look at a new one. And so now I have a whole bunch of different points that satisfy this new relationship. But what if I want to see if there's any points that satisfy both? Well, that's actually pretty easy on a graph. We can just look at the point that satisfies both equations. So we have all these points that satisfy the red one, all these points that satisfy the blue line here, but there's only this one point here, 0.2, 3.4, that satisfies both. And if we were to plug that into either of these equations, we would get equalities. They would work. We would know that they're part of that relationship. Now, there are two other possibilities. So we have these two lines, they intersect, great. But we could also have two parallel lines that don't intersect. And of course here, we would have no solutions. The very last situation would be if we had a second line that kind of just lays right on top of the first line. In which case, every single point that's on the red line is also on the purple line here. So we would have infinitely many solutions. It's not all real numbers because it's still only the points that satisfy this, but there would be an infinite number of points that would satisfy that. Any point on either of the lines, since they're effectively the same line. So that's a quick intro to systems of linear equations. And in fact, that's how you solve them graphically as well. You simply graph both of the functions and look for points of intersection. In later videos, we're going to see how we can also find those points of intersection algebraically.